It's been a while since a Dark Sean has appeared on this channel. A few weeks, apparently. More or less one. And so today we'll be talking about the life of this, abolitionist and women's suffragist. That might ring a bell. Especially if I show you this. LOUISA May ALCOTT. Note here, not Louisiana and not ALCOTT. I made the same mistakes before. LOUISA May ALCOTT, most commonly known as the author of Little Women, and a lot of people know this, but it's a whole book of series called the March Family Trilogy. Well, it goes ahead, and she's not just an author, she's also a person who is a suffragist, and she was also an abolitionist. And here we go. Now, she was born to her mom and dad, and she was born on her dad's 33rd birthday. Her dad basically had a job. He would just go ahead in public speaking, but it only gave him self-recognition. For income, it was little to none. So the job of raising the family and getting the money needed was left to her mother, who did all the stuff that actually paid money, like teaching and sewing and other, quote, womanly jobs. And as soon as she could, LOUISA ALCOTT and her siblings, BTW, LOUISA May ALCOTT is the second child of the daughters of this family. They started helping her too. But at a young age, LOUISA ALCOTT too was really a person who wanted to do change. When she was 15, when she was 15 years old in 1847, she said that she will try to get her family out of this poverty because their debt was still at a peaking high. Also, during the same time, there was also a civil war. There was also slavery happening, and her family has been great abolitionists for a very long time. They were conductors for the Underground Railroad for a while because of their views. Conductor. And they even housed a fugitive slave for a week. In 1847. And then LOUISA May ALCOTT grew up, and maybe I should have mentioned this, but to keep up with her tomboy beliefs, because she primarily liked boy games that were preferably called boy appropriate games instead of the girl games back then were called. And she started writing at a very young age. Now, she published her first poem when she was arguably 16 years old. Some say 15. I believe 16. She started writing. She even wrote plays to act out with her sisters so that everything that could happen towards them could work out well. Reminds you of Joe, doesn't it? And then later, she even published her first poem. As I already said, she probably did it at 16 years old and 15 years old. I believe 16 years old, so. And from there on, that was when she got a little literary reputation. However, she didn't get a true literary reputation until the Civil War happened. Bum bum bada bum 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 bada bum 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 bada bum 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 bada bum ba 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 ba. And at the time she was 30 years old, she enlisted to be a voluntary nurse for the Union Army. She planned on staying for at least 3 months, but then she got struck down by typhoid fever and possibly mercury poisoning. And she never fully recovered. So it impacted her life, and she was never at her peak full health yet. And this was kind of a terrible thing to do for her because she was a work addict. She would write at least 14 hours a day if she needed to. And then after publishing lots of books, including this one book that gave her a literary success, and it was called Hospital Sketches, which was serialized in 1863, and in 1869 it was republished with additions towards it. And her editor and her publisher was like, hey, write a book for young women. And she was like, I don't want to. I want to write books that go ahead and say, young women, go be adult women and start being tomboys. Something like that. And she was like, oh god, then I guess I'm not working. Okay, fine, I'll write a book about like women. And that happened. And then she came up with the idea of Little Women. Come to note here that she was still a little sick at the time. And then, well, slaves are gone, so the Underground Railroad is now non-needed. Boop. And now that we're here, she wrote this book and it became an instant success. It was the thing that gave her income. Also, she was not allowed copyright over the work because she was... The royalties that she got were enough to give her an income to support her family and herself so that she would never have to rely on any other thing for the rest of her life. Fans were like, give us a sequel, give us a sequel, give us a sequel, give us a sequel. So she inclined, and then she wrote this, Good Wives. And here are the dates as the publication dates. The Little Women was published in 1868. Good Wives was published in 1869. Little Men was published in 1871. She did not really want to write it, so there was a little gap there. And the very last book, and this also her last book for the eternity, Joe's Boys, it was published in 1886. And this whole thing was dubbed the March Family Saga. It kind of reminds me of something, but I can't quite get hold of it. The Infinity Saga. Oh, I see. And she lived the rest of her life well. Her sister died, and then her younger sister died, and the youngest sister's child was sent to LOUISA for her to take care of, and then she lived a good life, and then tragedy struck. She died at the age of 55 years old, just a few days after her dad died, and she died on March 6th of 1888. And that is pretty much all I can say right now. Louisa May Alcott actually influenced so many people in their lives. In fact, when she got the voting when she convinced other people to actually be able to vote for women's vote, she was the first one to cast her vote. And then she realized not a lot of people were like, we don't care, we're women, who cares? And so she was like, hey, we have a voice too. Wait, let's just not be oppressed people again. And she said she probably used pathos and logos and ethos a lot. And then she somehow got 19 other women and so to be able to cast votes with her. Also, it was not that popular at the time. Nowadays, see the impact she had too. Like a pebble in a pond that can create large ripples that can go through the pond. And that is all about Louisa May Alcott. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. See you guys soon. Until next time, Shana and out. Peace. Bye 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 bye. Subscribe.